Namaskar all. I'm your host Ashish Bhadwaj, Delhi Public School Mathura Road alumnus, and I welcome you all to Alma Talks, an initiative of DPS Alumni Network. Today I am joined by my co-host Tanya.
Hello everyone, I am Tanya Khanna. I am from 2008 DPS batch and I am an IT professional working in the finance industry in a leading IT firm in Delhi.
We have two guests from DPS Mathura Road. I'll first introduce Dr. Himanshu Bhatnagar of 1979 batch from the US. He's a graduate of Delhi College of Engineering and has worked with HCL and Prannoy Roy before migrating to the US in 1985. In the US, he received his Doctors of Science in Computer Science, working on artificial intelligence and intelligent transport systems. He followed this with executive education from MIT. Dr. Bhatnagar is the CEO of HBSS Connect Corporation and has authored dozens of research papers, patents, and received many awards and citations. He has also served as adjunct professor at Boston University. Recently, he has opened up a branch office in Gurgaon and has deployed his products in over 40 locations in North India, including Delhi Police Headquarters. He has funded electric vehicles and EV research lab at his alma mater, Delhi Technological University.
Our second guest today is Mr. Sharik Birni. He is from 1988 batch from Dubai. In school, he was part of the school cricket team and the cricket captain of Ganges House. He is a graduate from Delhi University and an MBA in international business. A result-oriented professional with extensive experience of over 26 years in sales, business development, and retail management. Now, Sharik sir went to Middle East in 2004 and has since worked with BenQ, Celucom. He currently works with Portivio International as a regional head and sales marketing for the Middle East and North American region. To stay fit, Sharik plays badminton and tennis and loves to meet and socialize. Welcome Dr. Himanshu and Sharik to this 13th episode of Phir Bhi Dil Hai Hindustani.
I will now invite Rajiv Soni to come in and briefly describe the message or the concept behind Phir Bhi Dil Hai Hindustani.
I was looking at one of the stories I'd written in 2007. It's about two youngsters who come from the US to India to study. It's a rom-com. Of course, like Karan Johar won't be talking to me because he only goes for people who are in the fraternity. But when I suddenly read the introduction to the story, I realized that this Phir Bhi Dil Hai Hindustani has been with me since 2000 when I went, and 2007, because the protagonist's father, Gautam Khanna, wants his son to come to India and do 6 months of college in the same college where Mr. Gautam Khanna had studied 25 years ago, because his dil is Phir Bhi Hindustani. I'll be happy to share this synopsis with anybody who may want to see it. But yes, that is the origin of this program.
Thank you, Rajiv. And Himanshu, please briefly take us through your journey after DPS that led you to the US.
I joined Delhi College of Engineering, Electronics, spent 4 years, wonderful years there. Did a lot of, besides academics, a lot of cultural stuff there. And then towards the end, realized that my bearings were in software and computer science. So I took up a job with HCL and spent about a year and a half working in Punjab, Haryana, and in that area, Himachal, to help HCL in these regions. And then I realized that I have to move to software. So I went and worked for Prannoy Roy on his election software. That time he was just beginning to start that election physiologist, as he used to call himself, to predict elections. And we wrote the software behind all those maps and everything else that you see there. Thereafter, I went to the US to study computer science. And that's how I ended up going to US.
Okay, perfect. And tell us two personality traits learned in India that stood you in a good position then.
I think the yearning for enrichment of knowledge was the number one. One of the things I realized when I was working in HCL was that we really didn't learn anything in the 4 years of engineering college. Even though we went to a premier engineering college, our focus was exams. Our focus was grades. And if you get good grades, you're good. But when we went to the job, we didn't know anything. So my biggest challenge was that where do I learn? And on the job learning is very difficult because there's pressure of deliverance. And the other thing that helped was the young age. I think I was 20 years old. So for me, the world was out there to be conquered. And if I stayed in India, I was told I have to become an IAS officer. If I want to be a scientist, I should leave India. This is early 80s. So I chose to go to US, even though I think I got accepted in all kinds of postgraduate colleges in India. But US was the call.
All right.
Again, it's the age, the youthfulness, and the drive to take on the world, plus the yearning for knowledge.
Okay, perfect. Sharik, now it's your turn. Please take us through your journey after DPS.
Right. I'm a 1988 batch pass out.
Mm-hmm.
And, after passing out from school, I went to Delhi University to do my graduation in BCom, Bachelor of Commerce. Thereafter, I did my MBA. And when I was doing my MBA, I was doing a part-time MBA, actually, correspondence MBA through correspondence. So I was working with Citibank for a short while, almost for a year I was with Citibank. Thereafter, in 95, I moved to a company called Bharti, which is Airtel now, basically. So I was working with Airtel for almost 5 years, and left Airtel when I was the sales manager for one particular area. Then I joined Punj Lloyd, and they were the first company, SpectraNet, where basically Punj Lloyd was the member group company, and SpectraNet was their venture. And they were the first company to introduce convergence in India, basically. Internet over cable, which was never there. Otherwise, it was through the PSTN and all. Worked with them for 4 years. Became very close to Mr. Uday Punj. I was reporting into Mr. Uday Punj itself. But left that company as a director for one of the business SBUs. Then in 2004 beginning, I left for Dubai, actually. I got a job with BenQ. And why I came to Dubai was only because of my wife. She was very inclined to come to Dubai, because we visited Dubai when I got married in 2001, actually. Dubai was our destination for the honeymoon. So she liked the place, and she was pushing me right from 2001 that we must go to this place. And we had a couple of friends also here, and relatives also, who actually encouraged us to come. So initially, the journey was not very good. I mean, I should say it was a very turbulent kind of a career that I was having in the first few years, because the working culture out here is completely different. People don't work as a corporate; they work more as a distributor. So now things have definitely changed. So it's been 17 years now I've been here. Worked with large corporates, and my current assignment is with one of the Chinese companies. It's a 100% government-owned company from China. They were the part of the PTT before, Post and Telegraph, and they are the largest OEM manufacturers. They rank number 17 in China among the top 100 government companies. So that's my journey.
Okay. So that's been a real interesting journey, I would say. Now,
Yeah.
Sharik, tell us about what two personality traits that you learned in India has stood you in good stead ever since.
Actually, one thing that has been helping me and which has really worked is the relationship.
Okay.
And I believe that relationship does help in not only in your professional life, but also in your personal life. And other thing was the content, actually. So whatever companies I have worked with, I have given my 100%. to learn exactly what the company is offering actually. Because a lot of people in sales, there is a lot of masala that you add. But in my case, actually, it was never like that. I would never fake a customer. Okay, so the content that I was getting, the knowledge of the product, the knowledge of the business, the knowledge of the market, all of these things really helped me, and also the relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very well said. Okay. Now, Himanshu, my question is for you. You have been a driving force behind couple of innovations. I want to ask you, how can a country like India seek expertise of professionals like you to foster technological innovations and, use artificial intelligence in a much larger way?
It's a very big question, and or I would say it's a smaller question, but with very long answer. So I'll try to skip the chase and get to some important factors. But I wanted to share one small quip before I move on to that topic. One of the hallmarks of my college career was that I learned Kathak during the college years, and in order to perform in various different dance dramas that we used to do in college. But moving on to the innovation aspect, I think one of the principal things you have to realize is that in India, a country of 1.3 billion people, there is a lot of room for innovation. And there will be for the next 10,000 years, which basically means that there is enormous opportunity for people to do well. And the mentality that we have to stop clearly is to looking up to somebody else to take care of us. Going up, parents, older brothers, siblings, somebody has to look after and just make decisions for us. That has to stop. And the earlier, like when I was 14, I knew I wanted to be a businessman. My father is a scientist, my mother is a teacher. How do you become a businessman in a middle-class family with no funds? Also, I figured out that I have to become a businessman, I have to learn the trade. So what the West or the outside of India teaches you is how to execute your dreams. How do you take what you want to do from an aspirational perspective and convert them into a constructive path to leading to accomplishing what you wanted to do? So I wanted to be a businessman. I had no background, so I went to college. And what I do is I learned the trade, the computer science trade. And I spent a lot of my time, 14, 15, 16 hours. I mean, the last 40 years of my life, I have worked about 15 hours a day. And I still do. And we'll spend time in learning, not passing exams, not getting grades. I mean, that's a normal outcome, but learning the trade. So you learn the computer science, then you go work out. So I spent 5 years working in a company where I did move from R&D all the way to sales, moving departments every year to learn how to build and run a business. And the country or the experience there allowed me to do that. And that's a big piece. Whereas in India, you are pretty much boxed into careers. You're an engineer or you're a doctor. And when we were growing up, there were only 3 careers, engineering, doctor, or law. And then everything else kind of falls from there. So it gives you an opportunity to move. So I could move as a computer scientist, PhD, from R&D all the way into sales in a matter of 5 years. But it gave me a rounded experience on how to start a company. Then I started a company and I did a whole bunch of things. The other thing that you get is an experience to work on large projects. And that's a missing piece. The large projects in India are the ownership of large corporations and Indian government. Smaller companies don't get a chance to work on large projects. And that increases exposure. Now, I got opportunity to work on the Panama Canal project as a chief architect. Now, imagine it's a high-profile project. We had to turn the control of Panama from US to Panamanians, and we had to rebuild their entire scheduling system for the ships. I got appointed as chief architect based on my equity, based on my knowledge and my expertise, not because I knew somebody there. That was a big part. So you have an opportunity to do well if you're not, in the nepotism circle, but you have talent. And that experience allowed me to say, hey, if I can implement a Panama Canal system in 2 years, why can't I implement big projects in India? And that transformation is what has to be done. So if you want to bring innovation in India, it has to start from the levels that formative levels of professionals, which is the undergraduate and the graduate years. And if we don't have graduate education that is rich with funded projects from the industry or from government, you will not get the level of innovation in India that we all endear for. Currently, if you go to Delhi College of Engineering or DTU, there's no program to hire undergraduates and graduate students on funded research projects. So I started the electric vehicle research lab there 2 years ago and funded that, which I wanted to bring students in, but the students are not motivated to come and work while they're at school because their priority is to, if you don't get the grade, you won't get a job. And that's silly because your hands-on experience and what we learned, what I learned in the field in HCL was 10 times greater than what I learned in 4 years of college. So unless we start thinking about dismantling some of this belief systems that we have about, oh, education is the most important thing, you cannot make progress. Education doesn't come in the form of going to a school, getting grades, or going to a college, getting grades. Education comes in so many different ways. But we are so afraid in India of not following the beaten path that we just reinforce that entire belief system over and over and over again. And we need to get these young people, and whether they are a DPS or DCE or Delhi University or any place, that look, you have the opportunity to build your own career without the help of anybody else. And if we get that level of confidence among the young people, there is nothing that can stop India from becoming a superpower of the world, beating the shit out of anybody. And America is a very good example, case study that India can follow and just mimic that. Graduate school education, research and grad schools, being able to launch companies. And, you don't need capital to start companies. You need good ideas. And if you walk on the street, one of the things we do, we have started a boot camp system here. One of the things we do is we get the kids to go out on the street for 2 days. Okay, and look around and find problems that they see with the day-to-day life. If you look around, wherever you see in India, wherever you turn, you will see some problem that you can solve as a business. Simple things like we are trying to put together a backpack for women to carry their infants. Right? That's a problem. Because the poor, the low-income people, poor people cannot afford those things. Rich people have servants. So how do you solve this? So there are a lot of different things that can be done in India to seed and germinate innovation. And it starts from middle school, high school. And if we can cultivate that culture there, I think that's the biggest benefit of people who have gone outside of India and done well to come back and set that process up. How it is done, I don't know. But in our own way, we are working on that.
So I'll come to you, Sherik. As you just mentioned that Dubai has been a big manufacturing, distribution, and even a transit hub for the Middle East, and has come up a long way in the last 2 decades. So what has really worked for them while other countries struggled? So what worked for UAE versus what did not work for other countries? You'll have to unmute.
Sorry. Yeah, hi. What I would say is that actually in past 17 years of my being in Dubai, what I have learned is that Dubai is a very small market, actually, if you see, okay? So the domestic market capacity of Dubai is very less. Dubai is a facilitator. Dubai is facilitating all the companies, okay, to work in this region, okay? Dubai provides you with a very secured environment, okay, with a great infrastructure, okay, what Dubai brings to you. And that's the reason why most of the MNCs are sitting here and doing business abroad. And Dubai is a huge market for the export also.
Okay.
A lot of the product will come here and then get distributed to other countries, okay? And especially to Africa. Now in past 10 years, what I've seen is that now people have started setting up their offices in Kenya also, in Africa as well. Okay. So basically they want to go closer to the customer. All right. So, but still Dubai is still growing basically. Why? The only reason that I say that I see is that the platform that they have created, okay, is not only for 1 or 2 years. It's for many decades to come that they will be excelling in this field. Because today, see, like Mr. Bhatnagar was mentioning about India, India has a huge potential. But the only thing is, today people are not very comfortable doing business there. They are not very happy, or they are concerned about their investment that they are making in India. Okay. Whereas Dubai, I mean, it's completely different. Even if you go to Europe or the US today, there are a lot of security issues, but out here, there is no racism. There is no security issues at all. And I only talk about Dubai because United Arab Emirates consists of 7 islands. But Dubai is the one which is most prominent, which is most advanced actually. Any new technology that uh, comes in the world, it is being tested by these people because they have the capacity to buy it and test it.
Okay.
Okay. So that's what I see. I mean, Dubai definitely. I mean, somehow, I mean, sometimes I really feel very amazed that how come they are handling so many nationalities. Okay, there are about 192 nationalities, different culture, different behavior. Okay, and all of them are living in a very cohesive environment. You go to any of the clubs out here, okay, you will not see anybody arguing. Okay, why? Because people know the system is such. If they try to do any mischief, there is going to be police there. Okay, they will find somebody to take care of it.
Okay.
All of these things. Today at 4 o'clock or 2 o'clock or at midnight, my daughter is traveling in a taxi alone. I am not worried. Okay, I know she will reach home safe, which you will not find it in many countries.
Okay.
So that security is a big plus, I should say. Basically, that brings a lot of people to Dubai.
So security and multicultural environment is what you mentioned.
Multicultural environment as well, and security as well, and the platform that they have created is so comfortable actually. You see, everything in the world basically that you seek for, ask for, it is very convenient and very economical for you to keep any domestic help here, which you will not find it in the US or in Europe basically, for that matter.
Okay.
It's not that expensive also, and it's easy to bring a domestic help here.
Okay. Sharik, my next question again is to you. You went to the UAE in the beginning of this last decade, 2003, 2004.
Yes.
So how were your and your family's initial struggles in UAE?
Okay, for the first 2 years, it was quite turbulent actually, and reason being because I didn't like the culture out here. The working culture was completely different than what I worked. I mean, totally different from India. But somehow my wife was quite adamant that we have to live here, and it takes time for you to get adapted to a new change and all of those things. But eventually, today, if you really see, I don't want to go out of this place. Okay. Basically, I don't want to leave this place. There were certain compulsions, family compulsions also. My parents also wanted me to be in India. Okay. And I was doing fairly okay in India as well. But then, first 2 years were quite turbulent. I had to switch 2 jobs within 2 years. Okay. I came with BenQ. BenQ, I was the mobile phone head for BenQ. But when I was doing the research basically when I was doing the product research of comparing it with the other brands, which they wanted to compete with, like Nokia's and Sony Ericsson, their product was not up to that level for them to position it with the likes of Nokia's and Sony Ericsson. So I gave them feedback, and within 3 months, I lost my job. Then I got a job with a local corporate out here. And with the local corporate, I worked for almost half the salary of what I was getting with BenQ. Okay, I didn't want to go back to India. So I worked with them for 3 months. Then the managing director was an Indian. and he was from Rajasthan, the Marwani. So I said, Arun, see, I mean, I'm not liking this profile at all, and even the challenges are hardly any. I have worked in a very different environment. You should utilize my expertise by using me in a fairly little bit bigger responsibility. So you will not believe it, but he made me the general manager of the company. Within 3 months, my salary got increased by almost three-folds. So this is how destiny is, man. So after that, actually, then I switched over to this company called Putivio. So with Putivio, I've been working with them for almost 12 years now. So that has been
Fair amount of struggles and
yeah, but it's I mean, if you're strong enough, I mean, I knew that I'll be able to make it. So I never looked back at going back to India. Actually, it was always there. I mean, I could have come back to India, but I never wanted to actually because I saw a lot of opportunities out here also. So it was a bit of a struggle which everybody goes through. So I also went through the same.
all right. And you really came out victorious. That's great.
Yeah.
So I'll go over to Himanshu with the same question. Himanshu, you migrated in 1985. So how were the initial years for you and your family? Did you people find it difficult to adjust initially?
I was a bachelor. I was 21 years old. So I didn't have those problems that Sharik has had. But I had different problems.
Okay.
When I landed there after paying my college tuition, I had $1,000 left. And I had to live and figure out a way to make my scholarships or get a scholarship before my $1,000 ran out. So we put a budget, $250 a month. That will cover food, rent, laundry. So we had everything rationed. Figured out how to eat food cheaply, cook food. We didn't know how to cook food, so we learned how to cook food with other friends. Saved money, and somewhere towards the half of the semester, impressed the teachers enough to get a confirmation of a teaching assistantship in the following semester. So that was a huge burden relief. So a lot of times I used to sit on the steps of the college facing the river and used to just stare endlessly, thinking about what would happen if things don't happen and things like that. So I've seen, like on any student in the US, all kinds of challenges. The biggest thing was that those days, they wouldn't easily hire non-whites or non-citizens, I should say, non-resident aliens. So non-green cards, they would not hire. So trying to make a breakthrough to get a job, I mean, people used to submit 30, 40, 50 resumes a week and would not get a call. So to overcome those kinds of things in late 80s was the biggest reason. But it was not a whole lot of a problem for me because I was more interested in finishing my doctorate and learning the computer science topic easily. But getting to a PhD and then learning how to deal with professors was always a challenge. And trying to figure out how to make a living, cook food, do the laundry, and then do a PhD while sharing an apartment with some other people was basically challenging. But looking back, it was more fun than challenges. The biggest challenge was when my wife came to US in 1995, where she was young and from graduate of School of Planning and Architecture, very ambitious, and she had a huge cultural change coming from India to US. And she took some time to adapt, but she did very well. My children are born here, so they didn't have any need for any adjustment. They just grew up to be really wonderful kids. So my life's a lot easier, I would say. And share my conversation with Mr. Soni. My life has been pretty boring from a professional point of view. Things have, luckily for me, worked out. But more of it is that, if you don't take a chance, you don't know if your luck will come through or not. And that's one of the things that I wanted to tell a lot of people, is that luck has to be part of your plan. You cannot depend on luck, but it has to be part of your planning. And you have to factor in luck in your quest for greater good. And I did. For me, everything, I factor luck everywhere I go.
Very wisely put, I must say. Okay, my next question is to you. I understand you have in your work routine, there is a strong reference to India in present context. So can you briefly tell us more about it?
Yes, I think the whole emphasis of being an Indian in the Indian American phrase uh, is very important, because you can get a person out of the country, you can't get the country out of the person. Is very, very true. You still yearn for your childhood days, you yearn for your college days, you yearn for your friends, the social interaction, which was so seamless when you go to India versus here, where it is more cold than warm. But it has other benefits where things get done easily. And I think the Indian aspect was that instead of saying there are too many problems, you start feeling out how do you solve them. And that's a big part, which keeps you connected to the country. You're not just looking at, okay, I've got problems there, I don't have problems here. So yes, I live here, but my heart's there because I'm always looking at solving problems. And that is a big piece. The thing that I share with my folks is that when I start my day in the US, I have 15 things in my list to do for the day. I get 14 done. In India, being conservative, I start with 10 things or 8 things in my list, and I only get 2 done. That's because of the amount of friction and amount of roadblocks you get on a day-to-day basis to do the work. So that's one of the things that is keeping me very Indian, is because I'm saying, why is it that I cannot get 10 things that I start off with getting done? And to solve those problems, I figured the easiest thing is to do business in India. And the challenge was, how do you do business in India by living in the US? So obviously we set up offices, we had hired people, train them, and figure out how to do business. And being out of India for so many years, I had pretty much lost all my network. I mean, all my DPS friends, I lost connection, DCE friends, a lot of them are already in the US, so we lost the network. So we figured, how do you do business in India by not offering bribes or looking for relatives to help you get breaks.
Okay.
Now, you may say that this is a problem in India. I look at it from a different perspective. I say, can I solve this problem? And again, luck is part of that. So 3 years ago, we started this business venture in India to start collecting field data on the transportation systems. And I think I'm very happy to state that we have done 40 installations in India. And we are recently closing out, putting our technology on all Delhi police vehicles, all motorcycles, gypsies, so that they are better aware of where their vehicles are at any given time. Plus, they can conflate that knowledge with the other pieces of information like crime rates, the housing situation, the road, the traffic, to see how they can better serve the people of India. So our objective is not to blame the Delhi police for being ineffective. I want to see, can we help the Delhi police in improving their quality of service for the Delhi? And this is what being Indian is, what in my definition.
So, Sharik Saab, is there any reference to India in your current work routine?
Professionally, definitely it's not my market, so there is not much that I'm doing. But personally, I'm taking care of, I'm supporting few schools there. There is one school in Okla, okay, which is basically being run by one of my cousins only. So I'm trying to support them basically. So I have taken few kids, I'm supporting few kids' education out there. And there is a small primary school that we have opened in my native place, which is Bulandshahr in UP. Okay, so I'm supporting that. So that is my connection in India. Other than that, I mean, I don't plan to set up any business out there. But if I get an opportunity, definitely, I mean, I will set up something there for sure.
Dr. Himanshu, my next question is to you. What do you think are the two main differences in working and living between the US and India?
So that's 4 options, 2 for living, 2 for working. I'll try to be concise. The work culture in the US is very, very productive, very professional. Not that there is no politics here, there is politics here as well. Not that there is no favoritism, there is favoritism here as well. But still, if you have a clear conscience and if you have good ideas, you don't have a problem moving forward in the work culture here. I'm not going to criticize India, but I'll tell you the shortcomings in a little bit. The other benefit of working in the US here is that you can pretty much do anything you want to. And the liquidity of cash, banks, financial institutes is such that if you want to start a project, you will find a way to fund your project. You will find a way to start it. There's a lot of support systems available within the US. Contrasting that with India, we have not yet matured after 60, 70 years of independence, where we have built that level of liquidity base. It's coming slow, small, and or the work culture is, since it is, we grew because we created these businesses that serve the West as opposed to serving India. So you will see some of that benefit coming into the work culture here, that we behave like Americans if you're working on an American project, which is a great way to learn. But at some point in time, when the transformation happens in India, where the businesses are not designed to serve the West, but to serve the country, that professionalism has to translate into this, which improves the quality of service for the people, which improves the general emotional and psychological feelings that people have towards each other. Because if we respect others, they will respect us. And that has to permeate. Now, in the US, you will find that in the professional environment, there is significant respect, mutual respect among people. And that has to come to India at some point in lifetime. One of the first things that I tell is you have to stop calling this business of sir and ma'am. That has to go. You have to call people with their first names. The moment you put the sir in there, you're instantly building a hierarchy, and it limits your knowledge and growth. Because sir said something, I cannot violate that. I cannot challenge. The sir could be 2 years old and less qualified than you, but he is a sir. So these are the kinds of things that I find different. And I've got offices in both sides, so I can tell the difference. Okay? Living wise, different. India is very warm and fuzzy, and you can walk up the street and carry a conversation with anybody because there are hundreds of people on the street. You can stop anybody and say, hey, how are you doing? And start working with them. US is a little restrictive. People are a little more conservative, and they will say, yeah, they will be nice. They'll smile at you, but the conversation doesn't go beyond weather or something else. It doesn't go too deep. So that is a definite gap in living. So you don't have that experience here amongst except for your closest friends and workers, where you can just feel and go pat somebody on the back and say, hey, kya haal hai? That is a big piece in the social structure here. And the other part is that here, as Sharik was saying, that living is very, very safe and secure. In 22 years of my old house, which I just put in the market, I never locked my house. And I would come to India for a month, 2 months, I would not lock my house. And then in the end, the irony was that when we were looking to put the house in the market, I had to change the locks because I didn't have keys for them. So safety and security is paramount. And that can only be achieved if we eliminate poverty. As long as there are poor people, as long as there is a great divide between rich and poor, you cannot offer a secure environment for anybody. If you go to villages, you may find people are not as concerned about security because they're all of the same society, same economic state. But in cities where the difference is so much, you will never be able to get past the security because the people who don't have what you have will want that. And they will go to whatever lengths they can to acquire it by hook or by crook. And that creates the security problem. Will that prevent me from moving to India? Well, no. What will prevent me from moving from India will be the issue of, can I run my business as efficiently in India as I'm running in the US? And if we can solve that problem, wealth in India will grow by leaps and bounds. And that would be my message for the current and the future leaders of the country. Focus on making it easy for people to do business in India, and you will see a growth of wealth.
Wisely said. So from now, Sharik Saab, what are the two main differences in working and living between UAE and India?
If you really ask me, there's not much of a difference because living in Dubai is like living in a little bit more safe and a more cleaner environment than India. Okay, so you get to speak your language to people whom you are visiting or whom you are interacting with, or in these stores, malls, grocery stores. People will come and deliver your grocery at your house. You are ordering your grocery with in Hindi, Urdu, basically the mix of what we speak. So I would say, I mean, there is not much of a difference when it is Dubai actually. So Dubai is more like a part of India only. I don't know whether you guys know about this or not, but in 1960s or until the late 60s, the trading was being done in Indian rupees only out here in UAE. There was a time, okay? So it is only recently, about in past 30, 40 years, I should say that things have a little bit changed. They have come up with their own currency and everything. So in my opinion, yeah, definitely this is a much better, cleaner part, safer. Like Dr. Saab was saying that security is paramount. Definitely it is. And once you have lived in this environment, definitely my kids also doesn't want to go from here basically. We have traveled all around to the US, Europe, everywhere. But this is one place where we would like to live all our life, if you really ask me. Okay. And the best part is that it's very close to India. Okay. So, and there are 20 or more than 20 flights every day to Delhi. Okay. So that makes, I mean, that doesn't make us miss India, if you really ask me. So at least for 4 or 5 times I go to India every year. And there are so many people who are coming in after that. Okay, so we don't miss India, if you really ask me. And all the celebrities or a lot of politicians, all of these guys are coming here. And if you are in the right sector, you get to meet all of these people as well. So basically, you don't miss India at all, if you really ask me. But definitely, when I go to India, I mean, it's a different feeling altogether because I get to meet all my old friends. I'm still connected with them. And some of my school friends, some of my colony friends, some of my college friends. And I make an effort to meet most of them actually. So going to India is always a pleasure and it will always remain a pleasure. And definitely living in India was never a problem. It will never be a problem. We'll adjust. So we have been made like this. Okay, for 31 years I lived in India. So how can I say that I mean, India is India? There's no place like India.
So true, so true. People ask that, when you're moved abroad, how many times do you really come to India and what do you do? And how long is your visit? Where do you stay? So we'll begin by, like you mentioned earlier, you mentioned that you come here 4 to 5 times in a year. So is that correct?
Yes, definitely.
So you do come here for,
Many years I have been coming, but my longest stay in past 17 years have been 13 days in India.
and what do you do over here? Where do you visit?
Well, my biggest reason of coming there and what I want to meet my parents. So most of my time is spent with them, and most of my friends will come to my house only most of the time, okay, to meet me. So I would not waste much of time traveling, going here and there actually. Because traveling is also a big challenge actually in India. So definitely, I mean, and parents is the only, I mean, they are the only focus when I look back, coming back to India, basically, definitely. So most of
Definitely.
my time
Heart is
is spent
where
with
the
my,
parents are.
yeah. Most of my time is spent with my parents only. And I want to stay at home only. Today also, if you really, I mean, I want to mention one more thing. There was a time when I was in college, when I was staying with my parents, when I was not married actually, and we were in the same house. If I am getting late in the night, basically, if I've gone out somewhere, my dad is going to call me at 11 o'clock. When I when I came to Dubai, he will not ask me what time am I coming. But when I'm in India, even at this age, if I have gone out at 11 o'clock, he will definitely call me and ask me, where are you?
Yeah.
So this is
That's a typical parent.
I enjoy actually coming to India. India is definitely happening. There's not much of change in India, and like Dr. Saab was saying, definitely this gap of rich and poor should not further deepen. If it does, it will only create a lot of crime, and which is not good for the country if you really ask. Leave aside corruption, security is also important. Corruption is one, but security is very important if you really ask.
So, Dr. Himanshu, how about you? How often do you come to India?
I wish I could come more often, but I would say about once or twice a year. On a good year, I would come about 3 times, but most of the time it is once a year. But I come for about 2 to 3 weeks. One of the reasons is that we have business in India as well, so it helps me. So most of the stuff we do is online. But coming to India is always an exciting activity. And when I come there, I try to stay with my relatives if I possible. My parents are deceased, so we used to stay with them, of course. But then in the last several years, I try to stay with relatives just so that we have some kinship continuing. We have two accommodations, one in Gurgaon, one in Delhi, but that's just to keep your luggage. And then you move around and you go meet all your relatives in the evenings. Daytime you spend in the office. So that's basically how my time is spent. But I did something very interesting.
What's that?
Me and my wife, we rarely go there together because she has a business, I have a business, so we do things differently. One time we were able to overlap for about a week. So I said to her, look, I have never traveled in Delhi metro. So let's relive our own college days. And she and I hopped onto a metro, bought a ticket, and stayed on the metro stations, visited pretty much all of Delhi without getting out of the metro system. And people would, we would just go and see all the places, see the, Patel Nagar, gardeners, I can't even remember things, because the metro goes through people's, backyards and all the stuff. So it was good for us to do that, but it was also more of trying to be a teenager all over again. When you used to travel in DTC buses, now it's the metro. And the funny thing was when I returned, finally, our pass would not go through because we had extended the time frame that you can be in the metro. So the guy says, "What were you doing?" I said, "Nothing. You just sat around and we were drinking coffee." And this is my wife, so we were just being very romantic about it and spent 2 hours drinking coffee. I didn't tell him that we have used all your metro services and visited just about every yellow, blue, purple line. But I think the part is that there's a lot of fun we can have in India. And there's a lot of ways that you can do things in India, even with this whole security challenges that you have. And I plan to spend the next 20 years enjoying my youth all over again in India. That's basically all of what I would like to say.
That's wonderful. I think when you come back to India, you get to relive your old childhood days, something that you missed there.
It's time, we have done what we had to do for society. Now it's time for us to go back and have some fun and bring old friends.
Talking about fun. Oh, I'm sorry. Please continue.
Connecting with old friends from DPS, from college, and then going out and hanging out with them and reliving the old days. But more importantly, travel around India, learn, go back and see things that you never saw is probably what we'll be doing the next 20 years, me and my wife.
That's very beautiful. And how do you, if we're talking about fun, how do you celebrate the Indian festivals out there? And which is your favorite festival?
Miserably. My favorite festival used to be Holi, but we can't do that here. We can't do colors, all the stuff. But we do it, we find a way. We figure out a weekend when we can do Holi. We all assemble somewhere in a temple, throw colors at each other, have some fun. Diwali is a little more solemn because you don't have the opportunity to do firecrackers in Massachusetts. So we have some friends in New Hampshire. In fact, my brother lives in New Hampshire. So So we tend to do our pujas and then head out to their place and then do all the firecrackers in their house. But that's basically the extent. Obviously, there's a lot more going on here in Christmas than you can ever imagine. So that's again another sore point. What we miss out being in the US is not being able to celebrate all these major festivals in the way we used to do it in India. And I used to enjoy it. I mean, it's not like, I'm not very religious. I don't go to temples, but I used to enjoy all the festivals. I'm sure Dubai is going to be a lot more endearing because of the fact that it's
Let's hear it from the man himself. So Sharik Sam, what is your favorite festival that you enjoy over there celebrating, and how do you actually celebrate the major festivals over there?
You really asked me. I mean, we celebrate all the festivals. I don't know whether you know this or not. My wife is a Hindu Punjabi. She's a reviewer. Okay, so we met in college. This was a long time, I think 1991 I met her. We got married in 2001. So I celebrate all the festivals and I enjoy all the festivals. The only limitation that you see out here in Dubai is that you cannot celebrate the festivals within your locality. Okay, there are specific places they assign for you to play Holi. Okay, and there is not only one place, okay, that they assign for you to go and play Holi. There are several places. So it's like a big festival. But maybe Holi is not happening the day Holi is. It is happening on a weekend and things like that. When it comes to Diwali, if you really ask me, Diwali is like India Diwali only, if you really see. If you go to the downtown where most of the Indians are living, you will just see diyas, crackers, and police is restricting. I mean, police sends the notification that you're not supposed to burn any crackers, but then still they allow you to do so. So this is the best part of the policy. They are they're very flexible, I should say. Okay, and then Eid, definitely. I mean, my Eid out here is better than my Eid back in India. Okay, really see. So all the festivals we celebrate very nicely, and there is a big Indian community where I live here, and my sister is also here. Some of my cousins, some of my friends. I've been living in this locality for past 10 years now. So there is a bunch of Indian friends, relatives. If you really ask me, the socializing out here is more than socializing back in India.
So wonderful to hear that.
So now I will have a rapid fire round with Himanshu, and Tanya will have it with Sharik. Himanshu, are you ready? So my first question to you is, you have to answer in 1 or 2 sentences maximum. Why do Indians migrate to the US?
Professional opportunity, financial stability, and being able to translate the money back to India 70 times.
Okay, perfect. So my next question is, if you were to hire, would you follow young and hungry or experienced and traditional?
There's no either or, you need both, but you need more young and hungry than old and tired.
Now tell us one thing you're not very good at.
Oh, listening to my wife.
Okay. Now I have 2 very small state true or false kind of question. One is, higher education like MS or PhDs are very good in US but not primary education.
True.
True. Okay. And my next question is, education is very expensive in US. In India, if you are good enough to crack an entrance examination and get into a good government engineering college, you pay less than 5 times than what you pay in US.
Yeah, true, but the opportunities are meager in India. Opportunities in the US are enormous.
Okay.
So
with that,
long-term cost of not being able to get good engineering education is enormous in India because you lose opportunity.
Okay, noted. So with that, we come to an end of this rapid fire with you.
Sharik sir, this is a rapid fire round with you now. Okay, so my first question is, if not this profession, what other profession would you take a plunge into?
passion. But yeah, I would have opened a restaurant actually. That was my passion, and I am opening one out here. Okay, next month it's going to be ready.
Oh, wow. So maybe you can give us an e-invite.
Definitely.
Okay. So the next question is, how do you de-stress?
My daughters actually, when I see them, and I spend a lot of time with them, and also with the dog that we have. We have a dog at home. Okay, Robin. My daughters actually keeps me really happy, and when I come back home, I just forget everything because they want to go out with me. Okay, for a drive, and that's my stress buster, you can say. Meeting my daughter's family.
Spot on, I'd say. Okay, so when you meet a person for the first time, what are the two things that you're most impressed by?
The parents and the language.
Wonderful. So beaches or mountain?
Both I would say, but then since I live in a place where beaches are there, basically more of beaches, so beach for right now.
Okay, money or fame?
Both are important, but money is definitely more important actually.
Okay, wonderful. So with that, we conclude our rapid fire round. Now my next question is for you, and that is, please give me two instances where your dil is still Hindustani.
I would say that my parents, basically, since they are there, and see, when I go to not only all my life I've lived in Delhi, but I'm still so much connected with my native place. When I go there, I find that place to be, the people out there are still having a lot of time for you, a lot of love that they carry actually. Okay, so definitely this is one thing. And another one is street food that we get in India. We don't get it anywhere else, actually. The taste.
Right. Okay. So do you have any plans to shift back to India permanently?
Uh, Not really, not at the moment, but definitely. Yeah. I mean,
Definitely in the future. Okay. So with that, I'm coming back to you, Dr. Himanshu. What are the two instances where your dil is still Hindustani?
Are you ready for a real answer or should I give you a fake answer?
100% real answer would do.
Well, I still prefer a sari over a skirt. So my dil is with the Indian people, the Indian folks with India. It never escapes my imagination. I still haven't learned how to enjoy, or I would say appreciate, non-Indian cultures fully. The second instance is I really enjoy the Indian TV, Indian movies, Indian news. So I'm very familiar with what is going on in India all the time. So you really haven't extracted me out of India. So I don't know if that's enough for a dil or not, but I am definitely a Hindustani.
That's wonderful. So do you have any plans to shift back to India permanently?
Well, I think in this global environment, you don't have to shift. What I'm doing is I'm setting up a permanent base in India with business attachments and business activities. So like my wife wants, we just want to spend 6 months in US, 6 months in India. Kids are all settled. We don't have to go after them, look after them. Spending 6 months in India can be very refreshing. But we need a proper environment in order to be able to be productive in those 6 months. After about 3 to 4 weeks, you really get tired of all the enormity of Indian experience. But I think if we can set up a proper environment where we can come in and spend 6 months there, I'd love to do that. But that's basically the max what I think I can do.
So I'll ask the next question to you, Dr. Bhatnagar. When did you last visit DPS?
Oh, a long time ago, when I first got married, when we went back to India, I took my wife with me and showed her my alma mater school. And so that was about 24 years ago.
Okay.
Haven't visited since then.
Okay, I'm sure on your next visit, you'll at least get to see it from outside.
That we see. I mean, I often on and off when I'm driving around, I go drive right by. Now there is a big flyover in front of it, so you don't get to see the grandeur. But I see it from the outside, but haven't visited it in a long time.
Okay, wonderful. And how about you, Sharik Saab? When did you last visit DPS?
It was long back. I would not remember when I visited last, but I visited maybe 10 years back or something. My nephew is studying there.
Now we are at the last question. So, Sharik, what would be your message to the DPS alumni community?
Well, I think it's a good platform that you guys have initiated, and I would say that each one of us should give it a chance. It's a good platform for us to reconnect, okay? Because a lot of people, a lot of different things people are doing, and which can definitely help us to integrate and energy, synergies, basically all of these things. This is my message to all my mates actually.
Okay. And Himanshu, what would be your message to the DPS alumni community?
I think I would encourage the DPS alum to go out and go beyond your imagination and do things that you could dream of but don't find the way to do it. But then turn around and come back on this alumni network to get inspiration from other dip sites who have traveled the same path before and have done well, and seek counsel and advice from them how to do that. I mean, I'm on and on about entrepreneurship, and if you can foster that as part of the network, every individual in this network can become a very, very successful individual, and the network can foster all of that. So my message is very simple. If you dream, execute.
Okay. So with this, we come to an end of this section. I thank you, Sharik, and I thank you, Himanshu, for taking time out and talking to us. It's been wonderful to know about your incredible journey. I'm sure it will inspire many of us websites. We will now start the Q&A and open house session.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I am Anuj Gupta. I have had a great connection with all these people, and I work with HB Software Solutions as a part of customer relationship management. But when I talk about this topic about education, it's very interesting actually, because what we have discussed is about the problems which our country had, and we really find it very challenging to match the requirements of the industry and with what all we are producing in today's time. So only one message that I have, and I feel that we should work on that. That I feel sincerely that we are actually producing the engineers, technologists, or management graduates only for the West. That's what I feel. And it's yes, Dr. Bhatnagar himself said that everybody had this dream, and even today they have this dream that after doing their studies they should get a good job, this and that's it. But I think we should think beyond that, and that is the key requirement of today's time. And such kind of sessions which today we had, like these are very, very good and very knowledgeable, and we all can gain a lot from such kind of things. I mean, so that's what I have. Thank you.
I have been introduced to this session by Mr. Anuj Gupta. He is my close friend, and this is my first meeting with you all great people. And what I have understood while listening all the conversation is that the basic difference between the cultural difference between India and the other countries, particularly UAE and US, and the potential which we have and which we cannot actually be able to tap. So this is a very well articulated session by great people like Dr. Himanshu and others. And what I understand is that we have great brain in India, great intellectual property. And as Anuj Gupta said, that we are producing those great brains and those pass out from the great colleges for the West. So why not to have that potential remain in our own country and create an atmosphere where we can actually leverage and get up to the level of the West, what they can produce, with what they can achieve, why we cannot achieve. And that's where I had a question to Dr. Himanshu, but I'll ask that in the end when we'll have the Q&A session. And regarding my introduction, I'm currently working in an infrastructure company, that is Oriental Structural Engineering. But that is not my domain. I have worked for 18 years in GE Gentech in Converges.
Hi, Deka 82 batch, DPS Mathura Road. Currently, I'm living in Russia, Moscow, last 15 years. I am a property developer and a builder. Before coming to Moscow, I was in the US.
76 batch, DPS Mathura Road. 10 years in hoteliering, 10 years in software entrepreneurship in Delhi, couple of years in the US, now education and writing novels, hoping that they'll get picked up by some filmmaker.
Hi everyone, I'm Sumit Kumar, DPS Arkipuram batch of 87, and it's wonderful to be here, meet all my dearest friends again. And I am a filmmaker. I studied at FTI Pune and I live in Bombay.
Yeah, hi. I am Makhlis Alma. I'm working as a quality manager in HP Software Solution in India. And I have completed my MCA in India. And I heard this session and thanks to all.
Yeah, hi, Rajiv Dugal, batch of 79, colleague of Himanshu. We connected with Himanshu. It was good. Himanshu, this is a platform for all the other DPS folks. I think this is an excellent initiative for us to, so all the networking that everyone was missing out on, here is where we can catch up. I've also been in the financial services all through, worked with Citibank, MasterCard, American Express, and now I'm an advisor to a fintech startup which is in the space of using artificial intelligence for and using behavioral pattern development for securing transactions. So our catch line is basically do away with the kill the password. So we say your profile kind of gives your identity, and that's how you get on it. That's when I was speaking with Himanshu, and we need to carry this forward on our AI platform. Glad to be here. All the best, folks.
Hi, my name is Dimple, but I am currently associated with HPSS. I work here as a HR manager. And yes, I just want to talk about something related to the current topic.
I'm Himanshu's classmate. That's it.
Okay, and where are you based?
Noida.
Okay, nice to hear from you, sir. And
Thank you.
Forward to seeing you more often.
Can we get some ways to upgrade the rural education system in India?
Well, I think, okay, do you want me to answer that?
Yeah.
I think I have spent a lot of time thinking about this whole rural India. If you look at the statistics, 1.3 billion people of India, 300 million live in the mid and high urban areas. And that's where the entire world is focusing on. The billion people who live outside of the large urban areas are left out. And they typically have to depend on all these yojanas from government to give them a hand pump, give them roads, give them TV, satellite dish, laptops. But what good is all of that if you cannot have inter-village commerce? So if a village produces something in one district, can they sell that product to somebody else in a different district? Till you get into that level of commerce and trade, there's no point in just handing out all of these doles that government offers to get votes. And the education, for example, is not about physics, chemistry, and mathematics for a lot of these kids. It's for about gaining employment. So if we target more about trade education, where we teach them to become electricians, plumbers, business owners, what have you, transport providers, they will latch on to the education process. But if you instill that, oh, I'm going to teach you the basic sciences and then basic English and basic this and basic that, that's great. But a lot of these people have more dire needs of immediate employment. I mean, with the population growing, the land is getting fractured. The agriculture is still in boondoggles. I mean, our agricultural practices are absolutely abysmal. We don't produce, our productivity rates are so low that agriculture land just keeps getting fractured as the families grow. So you have no choice but to go into other trades. And if there is no trade education, you really can't get anywhere with that. So there's a lot to be done and a lot to be said in this. And I think we as a DPS alum, and especially with folks such as Ashish who are involved in NGOs and other folks, we can do a lot to enhance the quality of life and improved wealth in the rural areas by focusing on what will get them jobs at the age of 18 rather than age of 28.
So my question is to Dr. Bhatnagar. Dr. Bhatnagar, you had very well explained the challenges which we have in India regarding the startup of the business and then to run it through in comparison to the West. And we are having a lot of teething problems, and thereafter, while continuing the business also, we face a lot of challenges, bureaucracy, etc., etc., etc. So coming back to that particular problem, our current government is putting a lot of focus on doing on ease of doing business. In the last 6 years, the Modi government is focusing a lot, doing a lot of propaganda that we are making the things easier for the new entrepreneurs and making things easier to get through the things. So as you are the entrepreneur, you are doing the business here in India, do you really see the change on ground, or it is only on the papers, or only on a, it's a propaganda stuff like that? Or do you really see a change that we are getting better? And as Mr. Modi expects the ideas to be put through to him so that he could implement on his website, so would you suggest some ideas which we can give to our Honorable Prime Minister in this regard?
If he's going to listen to me, sure. I think the issue that we are raising is a very important issue, and it goes to the core of the challenges that we as an emerging nation face in India. Is that if you wait for something to come to you, the line is very long.
Exactly.
So the approach you have to take is not to wait. You have to figure out your coordinates, figure out what is it that you can do better than others, and you go out and snatch it, take it, do it. You can't just wait. So I'm looking at the government, all these announcements they have done, and we have done analysis on how to use that for our electric vehicle startups. Yes, there are funds, but is that the only thing that you need when you run a startup? There's a lot of things you need besides funds. You need mentors, you need people who have done businesses before, the distribution channels that you need to distribute your products, the manufacturing facilities, how do you run efficient manufacturing? There's a tremendous number of challenges that you have besides having funds. And depending on the government to fund your startup, and you have to pardon my being so blunt, is foolhardy. But what you can do is what we did. Now I can share with you what we did. I launched the India business with 1 rupee, literally. And what we did was we figured out how do you get money from the government by bidding on contracts and tenders. We studied market and figured out there was one area where we could really go after, which is building tracking systems for government vehicles. And we started bidding. We lost the first one, but then we started winning, and we got 40 contracts. And we did very well because we learned how to underbid everybody else by studying the market, and so without any capital, right? We were able to do business with 40 government agencies, and now we have maintenance contracts with them. We have a staff of about 14, 15 people to work on that. We are paying the salaries from the money we make, and now we are looking to expand into other areas. So the opportunity is always there, and the only way you can execute a business model is if you depend on luck. Okay, not on money from somebody else, especially not from government. So if you're trying to figure out if government programs will help you, they may.
Thank you very much. Only thing which I wanted to know is that whether the bureaucracy, is there any change in the bureaucracy attitude?
Yes. You as an honest businessman have a chance of cracking the code. There is far greater transparency in what happens with government businesses and contracts. The government has made things a lot easier for people than they were 20 years ago. So as a young entrepreneur, if you want to do something, you have better chances now than there were even 10 years ago. Absolutely.
I have questions for both Dr. Himanshu and Sharik, sir also. So my first question is to you, Dr. Himanshu. Please tell me, if a person aspires to be an entrepreneur and is in the initial phase of, just, venturing out, do you think India is a place which will foster good entrepreneurs, or they should look abroad, for, ease of business, I'd say, because the idea and technology always remains same. The person has to do the groundwork by themselves. That's something I believe. But at the end of the day, do you think that it would be much easier to do it in a place like US or Canada, or India is still better in terms of getting started?
Yeah, I think it's a philosophical question because the first and the foremost thing you want to understand is, are you trying to solve problems in India, or are you trying to solve problems in America? Because when you do a business, you do business for that area, for that region. So you're solving their problems. So if you want to solve problems that Americans have, sure, go to America. If you want to solve the problems that America and Canada have, go to Canada. But if you have to solve problems for India, then going to America will not allow you to solve problems in India.
Wonderfully
and
said.
That's a very important distinction that you have to make setting out as an entrepreneur. If you want to build bamboo bikes, that's a solution for India. You will not get anything by going to America and trying to run your startup to create bamboo bikes. Just the cost of transportation, of sending the and the cost of manufacturing is enormously different between the two areas. So the best thing to do for any entrepreneur in India who wants to solve Indian problems, and I absolutely don't have a problem with anybody who wants to solve the problems of the West. For that, they should work for a company that does it for the West, or go to West. But if you want to solve the problems for India,
yeah,
then your best bet is to stay there. Now, the question then you get into is, how do you arrange for liquidity? And how do you arrange for all the steps you need to get? So there are a lot of incubators set up by Indian entrepreneurs like Deshpande Foundation, and there's a lot of incubator support that is available now in India. But yes, you will have to move to some place like a Hubli in Karnataka to be part of Deshpande Foundation, or there are a lot of other philanthropists who are actually setting up shops to help Indian entrepreneurs grow up. But that's what you have to find out. But I have one simple mantra for anybody who wants to set up a business in India: sell before you build.
Thank you, Dr. Himanshu. That was really helpful. So my next question is to you, Mr. Sharik. If a person wants to go ahead like you have and settled in Dubai or UAE without any base or any background, is it still an option that people explore, or it's becoming tougher day by day?
I would say definitely the situation. Yeah, can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, it's unmute now.
Yeah.
Definitely the situation, what it was 17 years back, has completely changed. When I came here 17 years back, there were a lot of South Indians and Indians from the Western region I could see. But a lot of North Indians have also started coming here. And previously what I used to see was that the white skin and English as a language was given a priority. Okay, and they were paid much better than us basically as Indians, okay, or non-whites. But now the situation has changed. It's at par now actually. And definitely not only Dubai, but the whole of Gulf has changed. A lot of people think going to Saudi Arabia is kind of a curse, or the social system is not the same like other places. But now even Saudi Arabia has changed a lot in terms of the infrastructures, in terms of the business dealings, business relations. So there has been a complete change, and definitely there is a lot of opportunity out here. And the only thing is that you need to be an expert actually to find your place here. Okay, so that is one thing that you must carry with you. Yeah, but coming to Dubai or any of the Gulf countries is very easy actually, and you will see a lot of Indians here. Actually, there are almost, I think, 2 million Indians in the whole of UAE currently.
It was wonderful to hear both Dr. Bhatnagar and Sharik, the journeys and how they have made themselves and how they've reached where they are. So I just wanted to understand as dip sites, that DPS motto has been service before self. So how have you applied that in your life, one, and secondly, in these COVID times, how has it affected you and how you're dealing with? So yeah.
So it's to both the participants, right?
Yeah, to both the participants.
If you really ask me, service before self has always been there, but maybe not as for the dip sites, but as for the Indians. Okay, there is definitely a soft corner for the Indians, and especially when you live away from India, definitely your compassion, your way of looking at Indian as a people is very different. As far as DPS community out here is concerned, there are not many people, okay, that I know of. There are 2 dip sites that I know of. Plus, your question, just to answer your question, the service before self. Recently, there has been a lot of cut in the salaries for most of the companies. There has been a cut in the salary. There was a cut of almost 25% that we have taken, okay, instead of 15% what the company was extending, just to compensate our colleagues who are not at that level where they can actually maintain the same lifestyle that they live, okay, with the current salary. So if they had got a cut in their salaries, then maybe some of them would have left the country itself. Some people would have sent their family home. Okay, so we as the part of the management, actually, we decided that you please take 10% more from our salary and don't cut their salary. Basically, this is what we did.
When I was about 12 years old, a beggar walked up to my house. It was a woman in bitter cold with 2 children. They looked very, very young. One hanging on the left side of her and the other one standing on the right side. And she was barely clothed. That image has never left me. And I literally tailored my entire life to solving the problems of people using technology, because that was my strength and my passion. In the US, we have worked majorly in the area of providing healthcare transportation services to seniors, elderly, disabled, people who are low income, cannot make it to medical appointments. And, everything that I do helps in reducing the cost of providing services to people who cannot afford it themselves by using effective use of technology. And for that reason, a lot of agencies have benefited from the fact that we can provide more services at less cost. And using technology to take care of people who cannot take care of themselves is a very important cause that the young people should keep in their mind when they're venturing out and looking at, I have to make this much of money, I have to do this. Yes, money is good. You have to make money and it goes up to a certain point. But the greater good of life is to do things for people who are not as fortunate as you are. And if you can do that, it gives you enormous satisfaction that you have helped folks who could not help them. Even during the COVID time, we ran the Punjab Healthcare Helpline 104 service. We had to double up our staff, and Punjab government was not in a position to pay us because of shortage in GST corrections. So we arranged for additional funds, but provided 24/7 services, additional services, healthcare services to people in the state of Punjab, and which is mostly rural areas. And we put money out of the pocket. We are getting it back now, but we put a significant amount of money out of pocket so that the services don't get disturbed even though Punjab government is unable to pay us. So that whole motto, service before self, coming from DPS, is actually very dear and has etched pretty much my entire life. And I really want to see a world where nobody goes to home, nobody goes to bed hungry, no child is malnourished, nobody has to fight for food. And if we can do that in a lifetime, I think that'll be a great accomplishment.
Yeah, you know, I was quite happy when Dr. Bhatnagar talked about luck and opportunity. And I remembered a quote which I had read in Reader's Digest maybe 45 years ago, which went something like this. If you wait for opportunities to drop into your lap, then you must position your lap in those places where opportunities are most likely to fall.
Today, as you know, is the International Day of the Daughters. So all of you, I wish you great luck and may God bless you and your daughters. I wish all the people who have daughters or who have friends who have daughters a very happy Daughters Day. Definitely the world is a lot beautiful with the daughters around. And on that note, we will now call it a day. We will close the show now. Thank you all and namaste all.